Welcome back to Rebuild Rescue. Today we're out at Mogollon Airpark, Mongolian Airpark, Mogollon Airpark. How do you even say this airpark's name?
It's Mogollon.
Anyway, we're out here to Airpark because we bought two Piper Comanches in need of rescue. We bought this 250 and this twin, and in today's video, we're gonna check out this 250, one of my favorite airplanes of all time. It's a 1959, it's got low hours, but it's been sitting for a number of years. So hopefully in today's video, we can check out the interior, the airframe, the engine, and maybe even get it started again. We'll definitely find out what it's gonna take to get this thing back in the air and flying again. This rescue really isn't about the airplane or the awesome deal that we found, or even really about the work that's gonna get done to it to get it started and flying again. That's a small part of this story. The big part of this story is the story of a man who fell in love with aviation and the memories that he passed down to so many others along the way. The original jack of all trades, Jack Christopherson, who owned the two Comanches, we're rescuing. Jack, who flew these Comanches well into his 80s, was a veteran who went from a nuclear weapons guard in the Air Force to being a flight instructor, airline transporter, pilot examiner, regional sales manager for Piper Aircraft, director of aeronautics for the state of Arizona, and the FAA safety program manager for Las Vegas and Scottsdale FSDO. Truly, Jack lives a life of aviation. Whether he was flying with his wife, who was the Flying Farmer Queen in 1959, or taking his son Shane and Sean flying with friends, he was always eager to share his love for all things aviation. But, as many of us have experienced or will experience, Jack had to hang up his wings due to health issues, but the impact he has had on aviation will always be a lasting legacy for us all to remember. The Comanche 250 was produced from 1958 to 1964 by Piper Aircraft. It featured a 250 horsepower Lycoming 0540 engine with its constant speed propeller, retractable gear, and P-51 Mustang-shaped wing. This four-seat hot rod of the sky cruises at 180 miles an hour and has a top speed of almost 200 miles an hour.
So this airplane's 65 years old. It's been sitting for 11 years, and there is a ton of inspections and ADs that got to be looked at on this thing. We're going to go through the logbooks, make sure everything was completed up until it was parked. Thing is, you just never know what you're going to get with a plane this old.
Life was like a box of chocolates.
All right, so if you guys haven't checked out any of the Comanche series and you're an airplane guy, you're probably living under a rock, because it is one of the coolest airplanes that Piper has ever built. Arguably, I think it's one of the coolest airplanes anybody's ever built. So we're going to take a quick look at the airframe and just look around everything on the outside and see what we got. So the first thing I noticed, and I think it's the first thing Joe and I both noticed, is how good the paint actually looks in this airplane. Other than some chips and, you know, just some normal kind of airplane stuff, it really is a pretty looking airplane. I guarantee it would buff out, and it's at least a 10-footer at that point, or maybe even a 5-footer for those of us that need some you know, corrective lenses. But it looks good. I'm not really seeing much damage. If you look at the glass, I mean, yeah, it looks good. I mean, I would clean this up and fly this just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think you could actually land somewhere and people would come up and say it is a good looking airplane. So, you know, hangar stored, it was not in this hangar here, but it was stored on the airpark here for a number of years. You do have some of the normal stuff, you know, just some grime and grease like on the front landing gear. The tires, they're a little dry cracked. You're gonna have that, so we're definitely gonna replace the tires. There's no big leaks in the struts. I mean, these things like always leak. I can't believe these are setting up. It looks like it could use a little bit of nitrogen or something like that, but it looks pretty good. There's one thing that Joe just mentioned a little while ago that we're missing.
Yeah, birds.
Birds. There must not be any birds in Arizona or something, because we haven't found any bird stuff in this one at all. I did glance in the window and I did find something else that made me a little bit upset, but we'll show you that in a bit here once we get in the interior. We did see that this is the golf ball edition. I think we're going to name this in golf. What do we name it?
Golf ball.
Golf ball.
Yeah, it took a little beating in a hailstorm at some point.
My son and I, we do paintless dent removal, you know, Mr. Dent. I've never done hail damage on an airplane. I've heard of people doing it, but I've never done it. But if you look at the tops of the surfaces, like the whole roof here, I mean, it's dimpled up. It's not terrible. Like, you don't see it until you walk up on it, but it does have it, and it is something that we're gonna look at. I may fix it, I may not, I'm not sure. The next owner may get this with the dimples, you know.
We'll call it a speed mod.
Speed mod, yeah. This is the this is the Rebuild Rescue Speed mod.
Yeah.
The dimples are faster, it gives it more lift. I wonder if that actually works. I don't see a lot of rivets or, you know, like Cherry Maxes or pool rivets. It looks like all factory stuff, so I don't think there's any repairs done over here on the left side at all. We got some paint chips back here, a little bit of hanger rash, a couple dents back here, nothing bad. Again, the hail damage, a little bit of a ding here. I think we could pull it out. I think we could use PDR and just pull this out.
Yeah.
The tail, vertical, it looks good. All the antennas, they look good. All the lights look good. So we got our charging port here. Spring's still good. A lot of time these springs are broken. So the one thing in the logs, there is an entry where this wing was replaced, and if you look at the paint, it's a tiny little bit different than the rest of the airplane. So this wing was replaced. It did have a gear issue where after landing and it was taxiing, the right gear collapsed and it did damage the original wing. So they put a used wing on it. The flight surfaces, they're a little stiff.
You're going to be a little bit more stiff at 65 too.
Yeah, right. Definitely is going to need some penetrant, get this all loosened up. Sitting for so long in a real dry climate is good for corrosion, but anything that was like a lubricant is probably more like a wax now. So all the surfaces are going to have to be gone over, and anything that, you know, flight surface, anything that moves is going to have to be freed up. Kind of looks like, Joe, this looks like this must have been the airplane that you were flying on the flight sim. Because it's got a...
I thought it was a tail dragger.
Yeah, yeah, right. We'll replace that. You know, we don't want to, you know, or tie down the brake, and it kind of looks pretty bad. But I think that's really the only thing that I saw that's like, hey, we have to replace this. Even the belly and everything, it's good. No previous damage, nothing that's like alarming at all. It does have a tiny little bit of damage here. It kind of looks like hanger rash. It was probably backed up into something at one time, but it is stop drilled and it doesn't look like it's come past there. So we'll take a closer look at that. Coming over here on the right wing, the wingtip, it's a little faded, but it's solid. There's no cracks or anything like that. Lens looks good, no cracks in that. No corrosion up underneath the wings. Everything looks good there. Other than having, you know, the normal drips and stuff, everything looks good. And here, these designs, it's real interesting too, because it's, you know, it's a big front tire, and there's a huge wheel well up in here to make room for the tire, and it's completely open to the engine. You can see too that the engine does need some degreasing. It is a lower time, it's like a mid-time engine, but it is an older overhaul, so I'm sure some of the gaskets and some of the seals are wore out, and you're getting the normal leaks that you're going to see pretty much on any airplane with a mid-time engine. Exhaust looks good. I don't see any corrosion or anything on there. I don't see any corrosion on any of the gear parts. Just a lot of grease and oil and dirt, and, you know, some paint that's doesn't look too good. All right, so let's get in here. We'll take a look at the interior and see what we got. Oh, all right. So this is what I was looking at through the window earlier, and I was a little worried about. I was here a few months ago. There wasn't any of this in here. It looks like we got a mouse or a gopher or a prairie dog or something in here. That stinks. So we're gonna have to take a look around and see where they made a nest, because that's a lot of chewing. And they even chewed so much of the corners of the carpet and everything. I'll have to look back in the original video I took and see if this was on there, because I don't think that was chewed on. It's pretty much ruined. I mean, it's going to take, you know, putting a brand new cable and stuff in there. Hopefully it wasn't underneath here doing any chewing, so that worries me a bunch. Yeah, we'll definitely get that fixed up. But the interior on this looks really, really good. It kind of reminds me of like a 57 Chevy. If any of you guys were in a original 57 Chevy, I mean, it's just decked out that way. I forget what they call this. I guess it's kind of like a Johnson bar for the flaps. And they seem to be working well. Yeah, their flaps work good-ish. There we go. I think they need a little bit of lubrication. Oh, we still got a little bit of, the brake feels good, and on these early Pipers, that's all you got. You don't get any toe brakes. I think you can add it to it, but you don't get any toe brakes with it. You just get one handbrake, which that's the way that Buckshot Whiskey was. And I actually like it. I don't mind not having toe brakes, but it is nicer when you're taxiing and stuff and you're trying to operate multiple things. But good old Piper handbrake. One of the things, if you get a chance to get in a Comanche, you're going to notice if you're a big guy, they're roomy. I'm kind of sitting in the back seat right now, so if I was a basketball player, no problem. But even at some 6 foot tall, plenty of room in here. Plenty of room width-wise. It's probably 3 or 4 inches wider than a PA-28. Ceiling's good. It's got my favorite kind of trim. Got the cowboy trim. And the carpet looks like it was good. Like I said, after the mouse was in there chewing on it a little bit, we'll have to maybe patch the corners in or something, or maybe just get some new carpet for it. Got your emergency gear handle extension on the floor. The panel itself looks really good. It's just old school. It's a panel that's nice enough that you could keep it this way, and like it's kind of retro, or maybe keep it this way but put some modern stuff on the sides or something like that. But yeah, everything looks good. It looks clean. The dual comms on the left. Got the transponder on the right. The audio selector looks interesting. We have the ADF switch. Got another ADF here. Transmit selector, COM 1 or 2. I mean, this is very old school, but I actually think it's really neat. We got something a little bit newer of audio panel-ish stuff here. Not sure which ones are hooked up, which ones aren't. We'll find out a little later when we get some power in here and get this fired up. So we have all the normal switches and Piper controls all across the bottom here. Headliner seems to be in fair shape.
Well, that's the best part. This interior looks so good. I mean, other than just a little cleaning.
Yeah.
I don't see any tears or anything. And
No.
the carpet, we'll have to do a little something with the carpet, but
Yeah, no, I think it looks good. It's an airplane that if you really love the Comanche and you love the retro look, you could do a little something with the radios just to have a little more safety margin. But it's a pretty cool, and it reminds me of like a hot rod. It looks fast. I mean, the wing, you got like the P-51 style wing, and I think I remember someone telling me that it was designed to kind of mimic that. Got a nice big back seat back here. Someone added audio jacks. What do we have in the back here? It looks like we got aviation topographic maps. We got some old school facility directories. Oshkosh AirAdventure 2000. What do we got back here? Got some old wheel chocks. Little container there. If you can't hold it, you can relieve yourself in the airplane. Got some jumper cables with what looks to be a wooden charger or jumper that'll hook into the battery from the outside of the airplane. The one thing I can see from here that worries me a little bit is the battery box. So it looks like there's been a good amount of corrosion there from the battery box. That worries me a lot. There's a lot of corrosion around there. We'll get that cleaned up. We'll check that out here in a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and get this cargo door open so we can check that out. So it looks like somebody was in here working on the battery probably quite some time ago, but all the stuff's in here. So we got, it looks like pretty much more surface stuff back here, maybe a little less surface stuff back here, but nothing that's too alarming. It didn't get down to the airframe, the actual structure part. We'll get this battery out of here and clean all this up, see if there's any repairs needed. Definitely clean up all all the connectors, like all this copper stuff, it's way green, and I just don't like the way it looks. So we may even put like a new battery box or something like that in here. But if you look back in the back of the fuselage, just like most of these Comanches, it's gonna look good because it's all zinc chromated. It was even zinc chromated before it was assembled, which helps a ton. So it looks good. All the cables look good, turnbuckles look good. Got the ELT there. But yeah, overall, not too bad. I want to check out these fuel tanks and make sure they're good. I want to see how much fuel we do have. It's a 30-gallon tank on either side, and they have bladders in it. If you guys know anything about bladders, they go bad, especially when they're dry. This one here looks good. A little bit of fuel in here. Yeah, so we got quarter fuel in here. How's that smell to you, Joe?
Yeah, not bad at all.
Just a little stale. There's an option for these for another tank that's in, I think it's like right here with a bladder in it. I think it can be added to get that extra tank. And if you really want to go far, you can also get tip tanks for them. So you can outfit one of these Comanches, I think, with almost 100 gallons of fuel. I think it's in the 80s. But then you're going to have 3 tanks you got to manage the fuel with. So looking at this one, I would say the bladder is good. And got about 2/3 full, and it's stale smell. All right, so now that we know the fuel tanks are all good, we've taken a walk around. I really feel like this airplane, other than it being, I think, like a rat house, a little bit of a rat house. I didn't smell any pee or anything like that. We got to open the cowling, we'll check out the engine, and we'll see what we got. So far, we have no bird stuff. Other than some light hail damage and a little bit of hanger rash, this Comanche rescue is looking pretty good. We paid $32,500 for it, and in today's market, I think we should be able to get maybe $90,000 for it. As long as we don't run into any huge issues, this rescue will go a long way towards helping us with our goals.
Blue baffler.
Wow, look at this thing. Man, she looks clean.
Can't we buy them all looking like this?
Yeah, right. I wish. So the cylinders have the orange on, which I believe that's a chrome cylinder. I have to look it up. Obviously, once we get in here and scope them, we'll be able to see. But man, the block was painted blue. We got good cylinders. The cylinders were painted. I mean, good looking cylinders. That doesn't mean they're good. The exhaust looks good. I see a little repair here. Looks pretty good. And I'll tell you what, on these Comanches, this is a really big area to get into whatever you want. I mean, I could change a mag without even taking the top of the cowling off. Everything looks really clean. I don't see much, if any, corrosion at all. All the wires look good. Hoses look good. All the spark plug wires, they look good. I don't see anything rubbed through. Looking over here, everything looks really clean. Everything looks clean. I don't see any oil up here. I did see some oil underneath. I mean, that's pretty wet under there. It needs a good pressure washing, and I think the overhaul, I think it's an old overhaul. I think it's low time, but it's old. I believe it's around 1,000 hours, but I believe it's about a 25-year-old overhaul. Stuff dries out, so it's gonna leak. You're gonna have to replace some gaskets. But all in all, everything looks good. It looks like the mags are about the same age. Some of this hose needs replaced for sure. This is about as stiff as I've ever felt it. So we're definitely gonna replace a lot of these hoses. All the scat tubing, that feels good. Take a look at this Macaulay prop. This thing, I mean, I've got a big hand. It's almost as like wide as my hand, but for an airplane this big, it's actually pretty short. So it's just a different looking prop. I've never seen one like this. You can see how it's got a little bit of rash on here. Someone filed it down. Looks pretty good. So the next thing we got to do, we have to get in the interior. We're going to have to clean up that battery area. We're going to have to clean the cables up. Either get a battery in or put some jumper cables on or something. so we can power up the avionics. See if the smoke is going to stay in the wires in this one. If you guys remember the Cirrus, we got some unhappiness coming out of there. It didn't, and it cost me a lot of money. So hopefully they still work.
And this isn't the Cirrus packed full all the way up to here.
There's no bird stuff in here.
I mean, it was packed.
It was bad. Yeah, let's get some tools out. Let's get back here, clean up the battery, get it out, get a jumper pack on it or something else, get some voltage in it, check out the panel. I want to hear this thing fire up today. All right, so Joe and I were looking for the drain valve for the tank because we have to drain all the fuel out of it so we can get some fresh fuel in it. And as it turns out, there's vents, but there's no drain. So after looking for a few minutes, we actually looked in the manual and realized that the Comanches are a little bit different. There's no wing root drain like in most your 172s or pretty much most any airplane. In fact, these are a little weird. The drain goes down to the gascolator, which is mounted right underneath the belly of the Comanche, and you have to turn the selector on the tank that you want to check, fill a cup up, and that's how you check and drain the tank. So then you got to get back up, put it on the other tank, and you drain the same place right underneath here. Who'd have thought? That's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but all right, so let's take a look underneath here and see what we got. So right there we have it. There's the gascolator. It looks like the same gascolator that you would see on any Piper, and we have a single drain valve. That drives me absolutely mad that there's like mouse poop in here, and we could hear the mouse in here a few seconds ago. I'm gonna have to set a trap. All right, so let's get a bucket. We'll put a bucket underneath here and strain all the fuel out of here and get some fresh fuel in it. What's up, buddy? Nice.
Pat's here.
So if you guys don't know Pat's pretty much the mayor of this place.
Mr. Mayor.
Been around and knew the developer of the airpark since 1980, so that's 44 years.
Yeah, so here at this air park, if you've been here the longest, they pretty much just make you mayor and you're responsible for everything. So right now we have it over on the right tank, so we're draining the right tank down. There's probably about, I would say, maybe 10 gallons in there or so, so we'll get that out of there. Hopefully it doesn't clog the gascolator up before we get that all out, because there was a little bit of stuff in the tank here, but I think we'll be good. After that, we'll clean the gascolator out so it's good, get the new fuel in, and then should be good to go.
All right, so while we have fuel draining, I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna get the battery loose, get the terminals cleaned up real nice, so it'll be ready to put another battery in it.
Yeah, that thing's like so corroded in there, so it'll be nice just having some of that corrosion cleaned up.
Well, that and get the battery out of there, we can see how that battery box looks.
Yeah, and I'll bet you there's got to be corrosion in the bottom of that battery box.
Well, I guess we'll find out here in a moment.
Awesome. All right, so Pat just got back and he brought this big 55-gallon drum for us to put some of this old fuel in, but he also brought us something else. That's right, he brought us a handy-dandy fire extinguisher. It seems that Pat has seen one or two of our videos before, and he thought that we should have a fire extinguisher. All right, looks like this is empty. There's nothing else coming out. And the tank's empty, Joe, so it looks like it might have only been about 5 gallons in there. So I'm gonna go in here and I will switch it over. And we're draining that right tank now. So while Joe's over there getting that battery done and we got fuel draining underneath the airplane, I'm gonna dig into the engine here. I'm gonna pull all the plugs out, start getting ready to scope these cylinders to see what we got. You guys know that if this engine is all rusted up in there, then it's not a really good buy. Then we got some really big problems. But if it's clean and if everything's good to go, we should be able to get this thing fired up. You got it?
Yep. So there's the battery. Actually, don't look
Yeah,
that bad.
it doesn't look bad at all. Just has a little part of corrosion, you know, on the top here. I don't know where that came from. Let's see what this battery box looks like. What do you think of this thing, Joe?
I think it looks pretty good.
Actually, it doesn't look bad at all.
A little corrosion around the vent on the backside.
I wonder what all of this mess is around here. That doesn't make sense. This literally looked like something exploded back in here. Everything looks good. I think other than like cleaning the terminals up, I think there's much else to do back here.
Yeah.
Cool. Joe cleaned up all the visible dirt and the light corrosion in the battery box and around the cables. Pretty much every Piper we look at has this same issue. This is going to really tell us what the inside of this engine looks like as far as like the cylinders go. And if you look at that, I mean, it looks pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
No, yeah, it looks good. That makes me feel good about these cylinders. Here is number 3. It looks the same way. Cylinder number 5. What do you think of it, Joe?
Looks pretty good.
Looks good.
A little bit of carbon, but other than that, looks great.
Little carbon. It's got a big gap. I mean, that's probably a 30 thousandths gap. I think these are supposed to be gapped at around 15. So these are definitely going to need to re-gapped, but what we decided to do a long while ago with all of our rescues, before they get flown, starting it, that's fine on those, but before they get flown, I mean, these sat forever. We don't know what these spark plugs have been through. We don't know the history on them. So we'll replace all the plugs. We'll also replace like a lot of stuff, like the mags, the fuel pumps, the mechanical, the electric, vacuum pump, like pretty much anything that you can bolt onto this engine, and anything that's critical is just getting overhauled, rebuilt parts on, all ready to go, all signed off, good to go. So yeah, so these look good. Let's get the other ones out, and then we'll get the scope out and see what the insides of these cylinders look like. I was actually really surprised they looked that good. All right, so let's take a look at these and see what we got. Here is cylinder 6. Looks really good. So cylinder 4's got a little, looks like it had a little bit of oil on it at one time. Not bad, but it's definitely gonna need cleaned up. That worries me a tiny bit if the rings are any good in that cylinder. Cylinder 2, clean. You definitely got like a little bit of rust around these plugs, and you can see how they didn't have any kind of NECs or anything on them. They were really stuck in there. Like I used a 1/2-inch drive. Man, it took all that I had to get them out. So yeah, luckily it wasn't a long plug, because it probably would have got seized in the cylinder. After a long day of looking over the Comanche, everything was looking good. The only big issue we found was the mouse that decided to make our new Comanche its home. It seems like everything is going our way on this rescue, and soon the family was going to get to see this old airplane running again. All right, so we got all the plugs removed. We're all ready to go and see what these cylinders look like inside. So it's been a number of years since this was ran or anything, but these are chrome cylinders. They do have the orange paint on top of them, and they look pretty new. So I don't know if someone just painted them in here to kind of taped everything off to spruce them up, or if they were replaced. I didn't see any notes in the engine logs that they were replaced. So it's probably the original 1,000-hour cylinders. So they could be shot or they could be good. Hopefully they look good. Let's take a look. All right, here is cylinder number 2. Got some oil in the bottom of the cylinder, you know, like we always see, which is good because that means it had some lubrication in there. And it looks really freaking good. Yeah, even the top of the piston doesn't have much of anything on it. The cylinder walls look good. Check number 4 here. This is good. You can see the little kind of crackle marks of the, or crack marks almost of the chrome. All right, let's check cylinder number 6. Get this down on bottom. Oh yeah, this looks good. This looks really good. Like this doesn't even have, a lot of times up in the very top, where the ring lands don't hit, you'll see like a whole bunch of just stuff around here, but you get a chrome cylinder, chrome doesn't rust. Looks good, looks brand new. All right, let's go over to the other side and we'll check cylinders 1, 3, and 5. I have a feeling these are gonna look pretty good, but it only takes 1 or 2 cylinder. Well, it only takes 1 cylinder with a major problem to mess us up here. So let's hope these things look good. Yeah, cylinder 1 here looks awesome, and you can really see on this one, you can see the you know, the chrome and the way these look. Cylinder number 3. Wow, and again, you'll see some stuff on the side there because that's just the oil being pulled down. Looks really good. Yes. All right, let's check this last cylinder. Looks great. The cylinder looks perfect. I'm kind of wondering what this would read compression-wise. You know, we really do need to know that for the annual. To get it started, not so much, especially with the way the cylinders look. I mean, they look great. Awesome. Yeah, good deal. So cylinders look good. Now we'll go ahead and we're gonna get some Marvel Mist Oil in here. Just get some lubrication in here because, you know, everything's been, you know, somewhat dry. So we want to get lubrication in here, let it soak for a while. While we do that, Joe's gonna get back here, get the battery done. Get that battery box fixed up, get the jumper cables on. Then we got to get in there and we got to check the avionics out. Make sure that rat didn't chew through anything that causes smoke to come out of the wires. And yeah, just keep moving. Hopefully get this thing fired up today.
I think I got it. Gonna spray a little more Lysol. And
That looks so much better too.
oh, he tore it up. Even back here, it's all tore up in the corner.
Like the last thing you want to do is breathe rat poop.
Yeah. Well, it's the rat pee that could kill you.
Yeah, that looks way better. And the thing is, when you look at this carpet, I mean, it looks brand new. So now it has a little bit of damage up in the corner. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It stinks is like, there was nothing in this when we came to look at it, you know, a few months ago. I mean, it's already been like, I think like 3 or 4 months. So it's that quick that, you know, obviously something can get in here and start making a mess. So if there was any doubt as to if this was flown since its last annual, I would say that this black oil might be a clue that it was. So it's definitely going to need changed. I like to actually start them on the old oil as long as it's full and as long as it feels slick and there's no water in it and stuff like that, which I haven't ran in any water being in oil yet, but I've heard of that. Yeah, so we'll leave the old oil in. There's 7 quarts in there. That's fine, you know, just for a start. You know, the oil capacity is 12 quarts, but we all know once you put 12 in, it's gonna probably spit about 3 of those out. But we'll be good for a startup, and then, you know, before it's flown, this will all get changed. New oil, new filter, all that stuff. But it's looking good for the startup. All right, so we're good to go there. Let's get this battery hooked up and see what happens with the avionics.
All right, so I got jumper cables hooked up here in the box, and we're just gonna run to a remote battery with the jumper cables. Took some electrical tape, went all around the positive, so that way we have no arcing or anything inside there. That should do to get us started, and we'll see how it goes.
So I guess now, now we gotta check the avionics here. We got some jumper cables back there ready to go. I'm in here ready to go, and Joe's going to be out there ready to go just in case everything starts smoking. Like I said, we had a rat in here. I'm not sure if it was up in the panel at all. I didn't see anything, but you never know. But we definitely want to be careful just in case. I'm gonna hit the master switch. You ready?
Yep. I don't smell any smoke.
Master switch on. We get a gear indicator. I don't hear any of the gyros spinning up or anything. I don't hear anything. I don't smell anything. Everything looks good. All right, so the transponder came on. The ADF did not come on. The MX-12 came on. That is not coming on. Instrument lights are coming on. Let me pull the, check the breakers here. All right, so all the breakers are good. So I don't hear anything spooling up. There's a couple things that aren't coming on. I don't know if it's, you know, a problem with the units or if it's a problem with something else, but they're not coming on. So, all right, so there's a couple things we're gonna have to check with this whole panel. I think we're gonna have to dig in and see what's going on with it. But right now, I really don't hear, a couple things aren't happening. So I gotta check that out, see what's going on. Hopefully it's not some chewed wires. I just hate doing chewed wires. But while we're in here, we'll check out the rotating beacon. We're gonna check out, wait a second. So a little different. I just noticed it has the turn and bank switch. Now I can hear the gyro firing up for the turn and bank, so that's a good sign. I was worried about that for a little bit because every airplane that I've ever been into doesn't have a switch for the turn and bank. It automatically comes on. All right, so that's good. It sounds a little rough. You guys can hear it, but all right, let's check out the lights. Joe, do you want to go up in the front where the landing light would be? All right, I'm going to go landing light right. Ready?
Yep. Hey, we got a landing light.
Got it? Off?
Yep.
On?
Yep.
Good. All right, let's check the left wing landing light. Ready?
Yep. Hey, we got lights.
Got it?
Yep.
Off?
Yep.
Nice. All right, I'm going to hit the rotating beacon.
Oh, we got a beacon.
Is it beaconing?
It's beaconing.
All right, so we're good there. So left landing light works, right landing light works, turn and bank works, rotating beacon works. I'm not going to do the pitot heat until we can check it out and make sure it's not clogged. I don't want it overheating. Let's check the nav lights out. Ready?
Oh, we got nav light on the left wing, and we have right wing.
Right wing. Is there anything on the tail?
It's actually two.
Two on the tail.
One above and one below.
Nice. Both working?
Yep.
Good. We'll have to get a headset and hook up and make sure this all works. I don't have a headset with me right now, but we'll check that out. It's definitely not working on the speaker here. It's not coming through, but it may work when we hook the headset up. If we grab the keys, I could see if we can get fuel pressure in here a while. At least the rear light works here. This one here oh, wait. Worked for a second. There we go. So this one works in the switch. I don't see the the red nav light working. All right, so that's good. We're gonna look for getting our oil pressure up. We have the plugs out. Nothing can fire, so we're good to go. You know, the plugs are out and the leads are off, so we're good. We're gonna try to get full cranking oil pressure in it, so then we know that that we're good to go for when we start it. And basically, if the plugs are out, you don't have any pressure, you don't have any compression, so nothing's pushing on those bearings. So if they're a little dry or whatnot, you know, they're not going to get hurt with like an impact or scuffed. So, all right, switch is on, master switch is on, clear prop. Wow, I think I like really turned over.
Yeah.
Kind of like maybe jump a little bit. All right, ready? There she comes, right up to 50 pounds pressure. It came right up, so this should be good. Let's check the fuel pump and make sure the fuel pump's gonna fuel pump. Now, we don't have any fuel in it, but we can listen for it to pump, and there's probably some residual in there. Oh yeah, the fuel pumping is pumping. The fuel pump is pumping. The pumper is fueling. It's good to go. Let's get the plugs in. Let's get some fuel in here. Pull it outside. Let's fire this thing up. So the one thing that you guys will notice, we may be filling these up a little bit differently than you're used to. So at a private airport, you don't always have a fuel truck or something like that. So we were able to source some aviation fuel, and so we'll be good to go. So we're gonna put 5 gallons aside in. That should be plenty of fuel to fire this thing up. So we're here with the mayor of the airpark. How do you even say this airpark's name?
It's Mogollon.
Mogollon.
Like the Mogollon Indians.
So we're at the Mogollon Indian Airport in a Comanche airplane to see if it'll start again for the first time in, and you said like 12 years you've been staring at it.
Yeah, it's been sitting around for quite a while. And
So-
so is that other one.
So we were here, so Pat made all this possible. He's brought us tools. He's like, we couldn't have done it without him. And for some reason, when he heard we were firing it up and he asked who was starting it, he was already sitting over here in the pilot side. So, so we're gonna try to fire this thing up. I'm gonna shut the doors.
Throttle's out, props in all the way, mixture's in. We're gonna lean it out a little bit for up here.
Yeah.
Master switch is on. Fuel pump. See if we get any pressure.
So we're showing some fuel in there. We're on the left tank. It might take a little bit. We had everything drained out.
Everything was dry.
We're actually left tank's over here. That's the right tank.
Right.
So there we go. We got some fuel pressure.
Good. Fuel pump.
All right. So we have fuel pressure. Oh,
Where's the key?
and you need a key for this?
Yeah.
Man, you're getting more excited than I even get firing things up. I guess you've been looking at this thing for a lot more years than me.
12 years it's been sitting around.
We got the fire extinguisher over there. We have a fuel pressure. We already checked for oil pressure earlier when we were, running it through. We lubed up all the cables. Everything looks to be good to go. See if we can do it. What do you think?
I'm ready.
What's your percentage?
I think,
Percentage that it'll start.
that 46 clipper that sat around for 20 years fired right up.
All right.
on old
And that was in the
gas.
same hangar this was in.
Same hangar, same everything.
That's good news.
Same
All right.
environment.
All right, let's do it. Let's shut this door up. I was really confident that we had everything ready and the airplane would start. The thing is, when they sit for so long, you're bound to have some issues. All right, we're shut. We
Okay.
got brakes.
Mags are on.
Let's pull the parking brake. It's got that weird.
There we go. And we got
Perfect.
the chock on.
We got the chock on.
I got the throttle.
All right, no toe brakes on this thing, so.
All right.
All right, I think we're gonna need a little bit more juice. All right, so trying to start this first try did not work out so well. The prop's not spinning over, the engine's not turning over under compression. One positive thing is that it has great compression. One negative thing is it's not gonna start like that. So what we're thinking is there's probably a ground issue, a connector or something like that, somewhere from the battery up to the starter, or it could be a positive off the solenoid. So we're gonna open things up, we're gonna dig into that, and we're gonna try to figure out where that resistance is so we can get this thing started. All right, so we got all the connections back here cleaned to the solenoid and all the points. I just undid them all. There was a couple that were loose and there was a couple that had some corrosion on. So now we got the cables hooked back up again to a good battery. We tested the battery. Actually, Pat's been over here testing everything. And if you guys didn't know, not only is he the mayor of the airpark, he is also electronics genius. So we're glad he's here because Joe and I mean, we're students of all this stuff. So anyway, I think we'll be good to go. Let's get over here and see if everything works.
Okay, brake set, check, mixture in, props in, throttle, master on.
All right, so we got the master on. We cleaned all the connectors up all over the airplane. And now,
You got the radios off, right?
yep, radios are off.
Go.
Probably put them on both.
Yeah,
All right,
timed up.
plenty of fuel pressure.
Clear.
Hey! That fired right up.
Told you would.
Everything's good. Oil pressure came right up. Our fuel pressure is good, so the mechanical, because we don't have the boost pump on, so boost pump's coming up. It does look like the mechanical pump's a little weak. We're going to be replacing that anyway, but Everything's good. Do we have any charging? Is it charging at all? She is actually purring. If you look at it, right at 1500 RPM, it sounds perfect. We're gonna let this get a little bit of temperature in it, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna check the prop and make sure that the prop actually works right. Make sure we don't have very much of a mag drop, but I have a feeling that's so smooth. Let's pull it down to 1000 RPM and see if it idles. Wow, she purrs like a kid. It's actually even quiet in here.
I'd say we run it up and check the prop.
Yeah. There she goes. She's working now. A little slow. You'd have to expect that from it not running for like years.
Right. Let's check the mags now.
All right, check the mag drop.
Up.
Left, good drop. Back to both.
Yep. Good.
Good mag drop. Yeah, the oil temp's coming up now. Yeah.
Told you to start. That's good. Let's go
So
fly
cool.
it.
Good job. Let's go. Let's take off. Right from here.
All right, we're gonna kill it. It works. Key out, master switch off. There's the keys. You're set.
Nice. So now it's running. Everything looks really good. There's one more thing we got to do. At this point, Sean and Shane had no idea that we had already got the Comanche started. I really wanted to surprise them and see their excitement when it fired up for them for the first time. As long as we got good power, I think we'll at least see if we can get the prop to go. Test out the avionics. I think this will be good. All right, I'm going first. Ugh. The question is, do we all fit in here?
Oh yeah.
It's a Comanche.
Got bigger guys than you with me in there.
Oh, really? And it still flew?
And it still flew out of here.
Wow, man, it's actually roomy back here.
Oh, it is.
It's
Back
not
seat
bad.
is very comfortable.
Holy heck. So you'd sit in here and make airplane noises?
Absolutely. I would get in here pretty much every time we'd come up anyway, even once it was out of annual and we weren't taking the time to get stuff done or anything with it.
Yeah.
This is home. Yeah, this is definitely the one I've flown the most out of probably any plane. I've flown this way more.
All right. You know what? Let's fire this thing up.
All right.
You remember how to do it?
Yeah. All right, ready?
Yep, go ahead and
Master.
mixture in.
Clear. I told you.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Sounds just
So
right.
we may or may not have did everything we had to do to get this thing running and spent a couple days on it first before you guys got here. But I thought I'd not tell you guys to see what you guys thought. And do you remember how to taxi this thing or no?
Oh yeah. So that was a whole setup.
A whole ploy. So just remember, no toe brakes. It is doing, it's like you're in a tail wheel.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's not quite that.
Not quite that bad, right? Being able to rescue this Comanche and being a small part of Jack's legacy while sharing that adventure with his sons has been such an honor. We shared so many stories. We had so much fun and just so much excitement that day. It's been amazing. So how does it feel at least to get to taxi this again for the first time in years?
Yeah, it's good. The hand braking, it's not quite as straightforward as the toe braking.
I know.
Yeah, and you get used to it. You get used to it and you never think about it, but when you haven't done it for years, it's something.
The last time I was in this is when Dad and I had that gear up.
Oh,
was
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I never took you flying after that.
No, that's the last time I was in this.
Wow, and that was 12 years ago?
2014. 10
Wow.
years
10 years ago, yeah.
10 years ago.
We can turn around right here.
Nice. Just take it wide.
Yeah, no pressure though. When you're first time back in the saddle, you got like 10 cameras on you.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Right.
Perfect.
That was awesome. Thanks. That was cool.
What a setup. And that's the sound after every flight.
That's just that thing. That is the loudest like gyro I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So did it feel like it used to feel, or is it a little bit different?
It feels a little tighter, and I'm not sure if that's just because I haven't done it for so long.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if it's actually a little tighter, but you know, the steering feels a little bit tighter, and some of that's this taxiway is not like totally smooth, and it's also not flat, so you feel a little more on it. But yeah, definitely good.
Somebody running the table saw?
Yeah.
What do you guys think? So obviously we didn't get to fly, but we got to fire it up and taxi it around, and you were like really good in the controls. I mean,
He's got a ton of hours. He's a pro.
It's
He's
been a long
just
time,
rusty.
though, and it's definitely, I'm not, you know, I wasn't planning on turning. First of all, I wasn't planning on taxiing, so I was not really
so we were
planning
trying, you guys saw, we were trying to fool Shane and Sean into that wasn't going to happen. I don't know if they really had an idea what was going to go on, but it was a heck of a lot of fun. And I mean, this Comanche, it you know, we did a lot of work to it. You know, I mean, went over it, did a whole bunch, and it fires right up. Well, when you have a regular battery in it, it fires right up. It runs good. I think a couple of weeks of work on it. There's a ton of ADs. There's some other stuff that we saw we need to take care of. I think this will fly out of here.
Oh yeah.
Easy.
So, and I hope you guys are here to see it.
Well, we will be.
Yeah.
So-
You let us know when. We'll be here.
Yep, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was fun.
I appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Rebuild Rescue. Thank you for being part of the adventure. Take care. Let's go get a beer.